Let's talk about Avengers Inc. being canceled at issue number 5. A lot of people could have seen this one coming. Stop telling me that Al Ewing is a superstar, Doc. I'm tired of people telling me that. He's the D-list, E-list comic book creator that we always knew he was. There are many reasons that you don't want to trust Marvel Comics these days. They have an abundance of bad creators. Al Ewing's actually one of the better ones, I guess, but he's not A-list. Another reason is all the culture war stuff is absolutely infiltrating, infused all throughout Marvel comic books. It's a reason to walk away. But if you're able to put up with all that stuff, inferior writing, stuff that maybe you don't like in your comic books, and maybe you're like, I want to support Marvel, they never fall through with anything on this, Doc. And this is an article from Screen Rant we're going to talk about here. The cancellation of Marvel Comics' new Avengers Inc. series is indicative of a larger problem regarding the brand's business model and how it interprets early signs of success. First hitting shelves last September, Avengers Inc. stars Detective Janet the Wasp Van Dyne and the surprisingly powerful Victor Shade as they track down a killer. In just a few issues so far, Avengers Inc. has become a major talking point, most notably reviving the previously deceased Hank Pym. Unfortunately, Avengers Inc. will need to rush into wrapping up many of its story threads as the series has been canceled by Marvel as of issue 5 per series editor Tom Brevoort via Substack newsletter.
What do you expect? You have a sales vacuum in Al Ewing. You have an Avengers title that has no avenging in it. It is completely disconnected from everything that Avengers fans are looking for, led by characters that can't carry their own titles. What the fuck do you expect?
This is Tini Howard shit. This is getting canceled just a few months into the beginning of an ongoing series where it's canceled down to 5 issues. This is fucking Captain Britain all over again. But it took her 3 attempts at it before it got canceled in 5 issues. And now we're seeing somebody that's an A-lister like Al Ewing have it done in 5 issues. And Marvel need to rethink their strategy when it comes to why they're launching books and if they actually have sustainability.
They don't seem to want to actually produce books that have, sellability. And I know what the folks at fucking Screen Rant and the few people that are bitching about this on Twitter have to say. And it's, well, what about the trade? Well, look, that's not the model for comics. It isn't.
Well, that's true. This is what Avengers Inc. editor Tom Brevoort explains in his newsletter when responding to a question from a fan named Cathal. Unfortunately, Cathal, there weren't enough like you, so we will be wrapping up the series with issue 5, Brevoort says. The series just released the 3rd issue at the tail end of November. Avengers Inc. number 4 is currently slated to release on December 27th, with Avengers Inc. number 5 coming on January 31st. Brevoort's words suggest that Marvel's decision ultimately boils down to sales. Of course they do. Everything boils down to sales right now with Marvel because they're not really successful right now. They can't take chances like Avengers Inc. and try to ride out the wave to where people are going to notice the book and then the groundswell of support will grow over time. They need immediate results on issue number 1, on issue number 2, or there is no viability to the title right now. That's why they're putting out so many X-Men books. That's why they're putting out so many Spider-Man books, because that's how many series they know they have to deliver in a month just to get the minimum sales to keep their business running.
It can't afford to get carried on the success of other things and work as a loss leader until it grows legs. It has to come out the gate with legs. Their sales are so low at this point that they can't afford loss leader books.
Yeah, and for people like Cathal out there that are going in there maybe trying to find that diamond in the rough, it does make you gun shy after a while of every time you decide to go in there on something that isn't, Wolverine or Spider-Man or one of these really big characters, and it just gets canceled almost immediately because there was no interest from anyone else, because Tom Brevoort, C.B. Cebulski, nobody has the luxury of time to wait for something to find an audience anymore, and it's going to drive even more people away, and Marvel can't afford to lose any more readers.
No, Marvel's already in a vicious cycle of lose readers, start losing money, have to raise price points on a book. Doing something that doesn't sell out of the gate is just not an option. The only way we can get back to an industry where you can take chances on books like this is if books like ASM, your primary Avengers book, your primary X-Men book, your Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Wolverine, B-tier titles are still moving solid numbers month to month. then you can take a chance and give one of these more experimental books 12 issues, 24 issues, instead of basically 2 issues before you're making the decision on whether or not it's tapped out.
Screen Rant were not very happy about this, Doc. They said it's clear that judging a series' success by its first couple of single issues is a poor indicator of wider interest. While foreign interest doesn't have enough time to register before such major decisions are made at Marvel, it's easy to look at data and blame readers for not buying issues for a series like Avengers Inc. But clearly it's never that simple. In fact, it's more the business model that's to blame than the readers themselves. In the case of Avengers Inc., one look at social media will tell Marvel how vast fan interest stretches for the series, an intriguing premise, consistent storytelling, collective faith in writer Al Ewing as a storyteller. And I run a comic book channel here, and I talk about the best comic books of the week. We haven't mentioned Avengers Inc. ever, and I don't think I've ever had a comment saying, why didn't you talk about Avengers Inc.? Because I don't think there was wide interest. There might have been some people that were pirating that mentioned it on social media, but there wasn't like an outcry. Yes, a few people bitched and moaned about this, but the sales don't lie. There wasn't enough interest, and this idea that you have to give the foreign market time to gauge interest, Marvel have abandoned the foreign market. That doesn't come into the equation ever.
No, and it shouldn't. Here's the thing. Foreign markets are gravy money. There's not even a lot of their revenue that comes from that. Over in Europe, everything's outsourced to, Panini. Marvel doesn't see, month in, month out cash on that. It cannot be used as the justifier for whether or not a book is successful. And Screen Rant is absolutely falling into their Hollywood tropes of movie success and how that can save the success of a film. But the economics of it are completely fucking different than film. And there's so much smaller scale that you're literally talking about pennies here. It's a ridiculous claim. And the idea that social media interest in it is how we got to this place now, where all the existing readers stopped reading because Marvel and DC only started paying attention to what fucking Twitter had to say and goddamn Tumblr about what was popular. Well, they listen to those people, and they're the people that don't buy the fucking comic books. They just pirate.
And they also mentioned a whole lot of stuff about like collected editions and trades and stuff. They're like, you've got to rely on the trades market. And it's like, the trade comes out up to like a year after the very first issue. What, Marvel's supposed to tie up all their money and their investment in the book for 18 months before they can hope that they might see a profit on it at that point? Like, nobody can tie up that much capital in a project and not see a return on investment and just wait it out.
Economically, it does not make sense. The publishers look at trade paperbacks as bonus money. They're fucking dessert. Tying up that much money in creative costs in the hopes that maybe you make your investment back 8 months down the line from the time you've paid out your first, check for somebody's script or page rate. That's ridiculous. That's the OGN market. That is not the monthly comic book market.
These are the final words of Screen Rant. If Marvel wants to change that narrative and stop itself from repeating mistakes that come from Avengers Inc.'s cancellations, Marvel Comics must reevaluate its current business model to assess new series' chance of success before publication and support the results with marketing and the appreciation that a comic needs to release at least one collected volume before fan interest can be gauged in a meaningful way. Avengers Inc. proves that even with a beloved creative team and a unique premise, Marvel isn't prepared to offer anything beyond the bare minimum of good faith, with readers and creators alike paying the price. I do agree with that last premise there, that Marvel isn't prepared to offer anything beyond the bare minimum of good faith, and most of the time, I don't think they even offer that.
They were finally getting to something that was reasonable there near the end, but at the same time, they're getting to it in a really, really weird way. The idea of getting at least one trade in. Look, this is not the Marvel of 10 years ago. It does not move the same amount of volume, does not move the same amount of product. Cena Grace's Iceman got a volume 2 miniseries just because it finally made its money back whenever it did get the collected edition for volumes 1 and 2, but it barely did. They thought that maybe that would convert those readers over into monthly readers. It didn't. By the time they got to volume 2, it was canceled. They've been trying this with Miss Marvel for 10 years now? They tried it with Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane before. They've done this model before. Now, I don't disagree that Marvel needs to do better research and better, kind of market planning to see if the books that they're going to produce actually have a fucking market. They're doing a piss poor job of that. However, that being said, they don't go to the places where they're going to get good, reliable information anyway. So who the fuck cares? They don't know where the good information is. And even if it is out there on the internet, in, social media, in, focus group testings, they're not smart enough to figure out how to parse that data, or they just don't like the answers. So they're going to keep playing the throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks and hopefully get, a hit here or a single there, but they're not hitting home runs, and they're going to strike out a whole hell of a lot, because they have been striking out a whole hell of a lot for the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and they're definitely overselling the quality of Avengers Inc. It's not the worst thing out there from Marvel, but it's completely unnecessary. It doesn't really feel meaningful whatsoever, and it wasn't all that well done. I read a few issues on it. I was like, this isn't quality stuff right here.
There's a lot of books out there that are much, much better, that get canceled much, much quicker.
Yeah, it's just another reason that you really can't trust Marvel Comics. If you like the characters and history, they're going to mess that up. If you don't like the culture war stuff, they're going to throw it into all your comic books. If you want to invest in a more obscure character or team, they're going to cancel it at 5 issues because they don't have the capital to see anything through and see if it finds its audience. And, I think there's a lot of reasons that people are letting go of the big two, and Marvel specifically, and this is just another one of them.
Experimentation is allowed when you have a big, successful company or you are a startup. Marvel right now is neither of those things. It is long past the era of startup, and whenever you are a big, market leader and you are floundering, the first thing that actually ends up going is your research and development and your experimentation. You have to go and find what fucking works and make that first.
As we mentioned, this is not the first time that Marvel Comics have canceled a series at less than 5 issues or whatever. In fact, Tini Howard has done it multiple times. We talked about how Tini Howard destroyed one of her series in 5 issues, and a lot of the same issues apply to this as to Avengers Inc. as well. Definitely check this one out right now. There's also a link in the video description.